I'm a fool. Hello, everybody. We're back. I'm a goon. I had left myself muted in the Twitch, on the OBS or Discord, whatever. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Fantasy Labs. As you all probably know, this is a show where we talk about homebrew stuff for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. I am by my lonesome today, unfortunately. Pete had some family matters and was unable to attend. Everyone, of course, send your well wishes his way. He's going to perfectly fine. Back in action next Friday for D&D time. Yum. Hey, everybody, hanging around. I know we've got Sword, we got Mistra, we got. Is that all we got hanging out in the chat right now? Man, where everybody at? Yeah, not a ton of folks hanging out. That's all right though. We're just taking it pretty easy today. I want to be pretty chill with what we're going over. We've got a whole bunch of cool stuff to talk about today. We've got a bunch of homebrew stuff from Frosty Pirate, The Forgotten One, V-Bunny, and Misra, since you're here, if you want, we could even look at a couple of the magical items you submitted for the Big Bag Bonanza if you want. I don't know if you're around. Or if you want that like on the stream or not, but we could do that kind of stuff. I've got a couple of different things going on today. I've got some background music, which you can hopefully hear. Probably why I messed up my audio when we first started. Background music is by Adrian von Ziegler. He's a cool dude. He makes fantasy music on YouTube. Of course, we'll put links to all his stuff in the description for the actual videos. He allows open use of his stuff for Twitch and YouTube, which is really cool. And there's some pretty good music in there if you use music in your own game. Besides that, I am pretty badly sunburned. I went for a walk today, and I maybe should have put some sunscreen on, but I didn't. So if you can forgive my very red face today, I would appreciate it. But yeah, I guess, Metro, since you're here right now, while we wait to see if anyone else wants to, pop in and whatnot, let's go over a couple of these items that you put together for the bag. So these are item submissions for Bartholomew's Big Bag Bonanza, which is something for Pete and Jeremy's D&D Time show that we run here on Fridays. And yeah, these are just goofy, whimsical, magical items. So let me just stick them down here. All right, Misra. Let's see what we got. Our first one looks like. Let's see. Looks like Judgement Boy. What is the Judgement Boy? All right. This magical scale has the power to know if someone is telling the truth or not. It is worn around the neck, and the scale is a small pendant that looks like a blocky boy with glasses and a pointy hat. Each arm represents the sides of the scale. One side empty, the other has a heart. As he tells you the answer, he says an answer. He sings, "You know who I am? They call me Judgement Boy." Gives you a +5 on insight checks and a -5 to insight checks made against you. Okay, can I turn down the background? All right, sorry. Thank you, Sword. I will do this. It should hopefully be a lot quieter now. I'm still getting that figured out. Having some background sound is something that we've been wanting to do on this show for a while, just to have. And I realized I can turn it down way smarter than I did, because now I don't hear it at all. But yeah, that should help a lot. Let me know if that's better, Sword. All right, this is an interesting item, Misra. It seems like the purpose of the item is to basically be better at lying, but also to tell if folks are lying. It seems like it might be a reference to something that I don't get, which is pretty typical. I don't get most references because I am woefully, what do you call it? I don't know. I don't watch a lot of popular culture. I haven't watched a lot of movies that I really should have. and all of that stuff. But I like it. It's a simple little item, and I think it's very straightforward. One of the things I like about it is how you kind of represented the arms like the scale. It gives you an idea of like how it like functions as an item, right? How does it work? It's neat. A thing that you could do for this, if you wanted to give it a little more oomph, rather than saying +5 or -5, you could use advantage and disadvantage, which work in a very similar manner. Additionally, you could give it like a spell cast once a day, like the Zone of Truth spell or something. But in a home game, it's a very solid item. Another item that you had submitted, the Daggers of the Stone Serpent, which that just sounds dope. These daggers were made from the fangs of a 100-foot basilisk. Oh, geez. That's a big basilisk. I guess that's why they're daggers and not, like, pins. Once the beast was killed, the fangs were taken from its mouth. Then the fangs were fashioned into daggers and hilts made from bone and leather of the serpent. The daggers were then sharpened and soaked in venom for 100 years. Oh, wow. Turning the fangs into a black obsidian color. The daggers gain +5 poison damage and a 50-50 chance of turning a person to stone. Oof. Interesting. I like a lot of the flavor you got there, but I feel like perhaps, I don't know how you'd condense it any further than that, but if you could find a way to turn, it's like what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sentences there into maybe like 2, that would be like the optimal route if you were making this for like a publication. But for Pete and Jeremy's D&D time, that works. +5 poison damage. Pretty straightforward, cool little magic item. Actually like that quite a bit. The turning a person to stone thing, that is very interesting. It's very powerful. I think if I were to create an item that did something like that, I might look at existing abilities that petrify, like the petrifying gaze of a basilisk, or the spell Flesh to Stone, which can petrify, and maybe use that kind of either language or even just the spell, right? You could say, the fangs have 3 charges. You can spend a charge to cast the Flesh to Stone spell, and they regain 1d3 charges daily at dawn. That would be a pretty simple way of handling it. Just a consideration. I kind of like the idea though that it can be used a little bit more than that. I don't know. Maybe you could have it only happen a certain number of times. I think either way, you need some kind of saving throw or something on there, because just instantly petrifying any creature it's something. It's pretty powerful. What other items do we got? From Misra, we have the Elemental Rod of Fire. Oh, and there are 6 variants of the rod. All right. Cool. Let's see what it do. Boop. This is the strangest looking wand anyone has ever seen. It's about 1 foot long, having a slim silver metal cylinder connected to a glass ball that rotates in the middle with a cherry wood handle. Okay. I'm just trying to get an idea in my head of what it looks like. It's funny because a lot of magical items in like the Dungeon Master's Guide don't have description for like what they look like actually, which is really interesting. Instead, they'll just have the picture and it'll just say what it does. It's really, because when you don't have the art to go alongside, it can be very hard to figure out what it looks like. So that's why we typically have descriptions on ours. But anyway, as you look at the ball, it is divided into 6 sections, each numbered 1 to 6. To use this wand, you must point it at the target, then quickly jerk your arm upward. This weapon can be used 6 times per day. Recharge time is 1 day. Okay? When it's hit, the player takes level X 1d8 fire damage, which is a chance of being burned for 3 turns for 1d8. I'm not entirely sure how you wanted it to work necessarily. Oh, it's a gun. Okay. Okay, there's a fire gun. Interesting. So the idea is it sets them on fire, and then they burn. Level X. I'm not sure what the level X necessarily. The player level. Oh, player level times 1d8. Oh my god. That is very powerful. So if you're level 20, it'd be 20 d8s of fire damage. My god. Well, that's a really powerful gun. Interesting. What else do we got? Yeah, I mean, in terms of what I would change about that, it was a little unclear how that last part worked. I wasn't totally understanding it until you explained it in the chat, and then it kind of made more sense to me. So maybe like, I thought it might be too OP. Yeah, it's definitely a little OP. It's interesting that it. Excuse me, I'm very sniffly now all of a sudden. It's interesting that it scales with your level. That's so pretty atypical for magical items, but it's interesting. You have a whole bunch more on here. Is there anyone in particular, Mystery, you'd like me to, excuse me, to jump to? Man, I am so sniffly. Excuse me for just a moment, guys. Excuse me, folks. The last one was kind of a group. Oh. The gloves of the Phantom Thief, the cape of the Great Phantom Thief, the eye patch of the Great Phantom Thief, and the ruby fire ring of the Great Phantom Thief. All right. Well, you know, we can look at those too. The ruby fire ring of the Great Phantom Thief. So one thing I didn't mention, and I haven't moved them up, all of these are set as require attunement, which for the purposes of Pete and Jeremy's D&D time, it makes perfect sense. A legendary thief of his or her own right, their true identity was never found. This magical ruby ring will help you succeed on all deception checks when worn and gives you a silver tongue you've always wanted. It is also said that the ring has the power to cast charm person to disguise self. And then you have a little comment here. Okay, maybe there is a little, okay, how do we have a +5 to the check? If we have all the pieces, +10 to the check. I getcha. So you were saying, okay, so basically your idea was this could cast charm person and disguise self at will. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that's fine. I think you can just have it do that. You know, that's perfectly within the bounds of a legendary item, or even a very rare item. Could very reasonably do that. That's all right, Frosty. I skipped past your stuff because I knew you'd be here eventually. So we'll come back to your stuff in a hot minute. We're just looking at some magic items that was submitted to actually Bartholomew's Big Bag Bonanza. We don't always do the Big Bag Bonanza items here on the stream, but today we are. Because we are. And let me just get the last one out so we can look at them. Also, there's no such thing as late in D&D time, Frosty. All right. So yeah, Mr. In terms of your thoughts that you had here on the Ruby Ring, I would think it'd be perfectly fine, right, to keep the Charm Person and Disguise Self spell. Now, it's really interesting here because you mentioned that you want there to be kind of some sort of synergy if you have all the pieces of the item. And because it seems to be a set, right? The eye patch, the ring, the gloves, and the cape. What I might do with it is had a little note in there that says if you have, maybe we call it something, right? Like we call the set something. vestments of the great phantom thief, and then colon Eyepatch, or something like that. I don't know if vestments is the term we necessarily want to use, because that's kind of priestly. But something like along those lines. And then I think it would say, yeah, if you have all 5 pieces, the glove, the eye patch, the cape, and the ring, creatures have disadvantage on these checks, I think, or checks to investigate your illusions, right? Or a disadvantage on saving throws against your checks and saving throws against these spells. Might be a cool way of doing that. Let's see, the eye patch. This magical eye patch will help you succeed in perception checks when worn and make you look good while sneaking around. It's very fun. Very cute. It is said that the eye patch will give you the power to light and shadow. This something be stack if you have 3 items, like give an extra attack. Interesting. I'm not sure exactly what you want with this, what you mean by light and shadow there. I'm not sure exactly what you were going for. It may be cool to tie that specifically into existing spells like Pass Without Trace or Darkness or something like that. Light is a cantrip, so I don't know if that's what you were referring to with that guy, but you could tie that into cantrips pretty easily. Or if you wanted, I'm sure you could get some ideas from the, what is it called? Way of Shadows Monk, which probably has some cool mechanics, right? And language for sneaking around in shadows and darkness. Maybe you can turn invisible while in darkness or something. And creatures, actually, that might be a cool idea. I think the Gloomstalker Ranger might have something cool about this, where you can see creatures in darkness, but they can't see you or something. That might just be a neat feature about the eye patch. In terms of what it would do, if being in the set, I don't know. I'm not sure they all necessarily have to have set bonuses, but if you did, maybe like advantage on stealth checks or something, might be cool. Gloves of the Great Phantom Thief. These magical gloves will help you succeed in all sleight of hand checks when worn and make you look good while sneaking around. All right, they all have that, make you look good while sneaking around. All right. It's also these gloves will have the power to cast Mage Hand and Minor Illusion. Can something be stacked if you have all 3 items? Like having an extra attack. Yeah, that might be a cool idea, actually. So obviously this is all about the Mage Hand deal. One of the things that you could do with that, right, is if you have all 4 items in the set, right, your Mage Hand can wield weapons, and when you take the attack action on your turn, the Mage Hand can make an attack with the weapon using your dexterity or score, in addition or something like that. That might be fun. Kind of like a little spiritual weapon. I like that. I like that a lot, actually. And then the last one, Cape of the Great Phantom Thief. This magical cape will help you succeed in all stealth checks. Oh, okay, so this one's all stealth. All right. It said that it will give you the power to cast invisibility and Misty Step 3 times per day. Gotcha. Okay. Huh. Yeah, one thing you could do with that, if you wanted this one to be a little more, maybe, right, these spells get better, right, if you have the set. Maybe invisibility becomes greater invisibility or something like that. Or Misty Step becomes Dimension Door. Actually, Dimension Door isn't just better than Misty Step, though. It's just different. Maybe that becomes Far Step, which is just a free bonus action Misty Step. So that might be a cool direction to take it. But yeah, I like them. It's cute. I think one of the things that like all Dungeon Masters want to do in their homebrew games is to have these cool item sets. So I'm glad you came up with this one. I'm wondering, Mithra, was this based on like a character from something that you're familiar with? Like, is it from a show, from a campaign you've played in? Obviously, there is a great phantom, or is there a true identity never found? Their true identity unknown. More of the concept of the Great Thief. Man, my hair is a disaster right now. It's all crazy and kooky. Because I've just let it grow out so much. My God. Blah. Well, yeah, I hope you all forgive me. Oh, it's Persona 5. You see, my girlfriend, Jamie, really loves that game. Played quite a bit of it. But I have not played any of it. So this is beyond me. I knew the word Phantom Thief sounded familiar. Ugh, big dumb me. Anyway, thank you very much for the item submissions. They're all very cool. Let me jump up to our next group of item submissions, or our next item submission, and this is a really, really interesting one. From Frosty Pirate, the Gloves of Quick Storing. So this is a wondrous item. Frosty's called it rare, and that's an interesting point of contention actually in the workshop in the D&D Time workshop. But anyway, it is a pair of finely crafted black leather gloves. A small crystal is inset just below the central knuckle on each glove, and as a free action, you can store any item 20 pounds or less you're holding with one of the gloves. Alternatively, as a free action, you may swap an item you're holding with another stored in the glove, activated with only a thought, and the effect creates a solid snap sound upon activation. These gloves come as a pair, and each crystal glows with a faint white light when an item is stored within it. Yeah, this is an interesting item because, and this is actually really gonna open up a couple of big question doors with this, because you have it set as rare, and there was a lot of discussion in chat because I think you originally had it as less than rare. And I think with an item like this, it's like, I guess, in terms, like, what is rarity in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, right? Because obviously it's an incredibly powerful item. This is basically 4 mini bag of holding, or technically 10 mini bags of holding on your hands that can hold small things. Ah, Cold Spark! Blessed thy subscription. Thank you so much. Subscribing for 8 months. I got an emote? Whoa. Hot damn. Thank you very much, Cold Spark. Oh, it looks like everyone got random emotes. My goodness. Yeah. But yes, thank you very much, Cold Spark. I'm glad you're hanging out with us. I appreciate your subscription, and yeah, just thanks for being part of D&D Time, my friend. Frosty was saying, so I started with it saying rarity, and I was going to ask for help with that part. But yeah, only one thing each, and maybe it should say any single item. Yeah, I think there are a couple. Before I dive into the caveats of like where I would make some changes here, because I like the concept, very, very cool concept. I think a couple of things. So when we're talking about rarity, right? In 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, right? The idea of rarity is how common an item is, right? This doesn't feel to me like a one-off item. You know, this doesn't feel to me like something that wouldn't exist in a world that has like high magic. This seems like something that like every noble and their mother would want, right? This is incredibly cool, incredibly helpful. So I'm not sure. I mean, rare might be the right rarity for this, but I guess I would just think about it in the context of the world, right? Because in Eberron, right, there are little tiny pocket bags of holding. I don't remember what they're called, but they're like pouches of holding that are just extra dimensional pouches. They all lead to each other or something like that. They're very interesting, and those are not very rare items. I think they're uncommon even, and of course the bag of holding is only uncommon. So the benefits this have is that can be instantaneous. Now, from a mechanical perspective, I love the design of it. I like the idea of black leather gloves and the clear crystal and the crystal's glow to imply there's something stored within them. The main clips I think I would have, free action is a little funky. Free action isn't really a mechanic in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. Typically, they would just specify no action required. Additionally, gosh, free action is just incredibly powerful for what that is. One thing you might want to mention is a size limitation, although you can get away with just the weight limitation if you really wanted to. Though typically, extra-dimensional spaces have space, dimensionality and sizes. Another thing you might want to note on it is an item that only you are holding. Just because otherwise it's like, hello, giant evil guy. I grab his sword. It's gone. So that might be something to consider, adding the word only in there. Oh! Yeah, yep. It's in your hand, so it is powerful. Also allows power gaming. I made it for a Hexblade. Yeah, exactly. I could see a Hexblade would very much love this. I think everyone would love this. It's pretty cool. Another thing just I would consider, and maybe you don't have to worry about this, but if you were creating it for a more broad use case where other people might use it, you may want to consider looking at the Genie Warlock revised subclass that just came out in Unearthed Arcana, where the Genie's vessel has an armor class and hit points. Because the way this currently stands, once something is in it, it can never be taken out of it. Unless you are attuned to the gloves. So that might be something to consider. But yeah, otherwise, 2 items, 1 per glove. Cold Spark, no, it looks like the intent is you could have 5 items per glove, actually. Which is, very, very good. That being said, Frosty, oh, no. 2 items. Okay, I totally misread that then. That is way less powerful than still pretty cool. But yeah, even then, I mentioned the hit points armor class thing, and if you're using this for your home game, don't even worry about it. Oh, Central Knuckle. I must have misread that. Yeah, I did. Down the Central Knuckle. Okay. So yeah, it's just very cool. I like it a lot. It's a fun item. I would use something like this in a game that I was running. So thank you very much for sharing it, Frosty. It's very neat. And again, if you're using it for a home game and you're never intend on having an enemy attack it, or if you know your table and they wouldn't care if you ruled that on the fly, then don't worry about it. Is this attunement an item, since it doesn't appear to specify? It doesn't seem like it's an attunement item, Cold Spark. And I can kind of see it either way. I don't think this needs to be attunement necessarily. Not sure. But yeah, I like it a lot. Overall, I think it's got a lot of potential. And I think depending on whether you wanted to run it in your own games or make it for a more broad use case, it's whether you'd go ahead and do all those little nitpick changes. But yeah, thank you very much. I like it a lot. Very cool little item. Man, it's crazy. It's such a simple item, right? But it's crazy that you never think about that. It's why haven't I done this before? Why doesn't this exist yet? But oh, does this mention something about attunement to the item? Or maybe that's just me. I said attune somewhere. Yeah, I think I said that, Cold Spark. That was me being dumb. But anyway, thank you for sharing, Frosty Pirate. I like it a lot. It's very cool. We have another item in here by The Forgotten One. This is the manifesto. It's a very rare magic item. Yep, that was my fault. Sorry, Cold Spark. I confused. This crystal is imbued with innate magic from a specified plane, granting those who are attuned to it properties of its denizens. Okay, requires attunement. While attuning the crystal as an action, you can swap your creature type to that of of the crystal, and its effect lasts for 8 hours or until the effect is dismissed as a free action. The creature type is determined at random or by the DM from the following options. Angelic Manifesto, you become a Celestial, Fairy Manifesto, Infernal Manifesto, Shapeshift, and Weird Manifesto. So they are Celestial, Fae, Fiend, Shapeshifter, Humanoid, or Elemental. The Shapeshifter's funky. It's weird, this one, because it seems to... You can swap your creature type. I think what I would do with this frog is, and I'm not sure if Frog's in the chat right now, but if I were making this item, I think it's actually pretty neat. I think I would cut down a little bit on the number of things here, and maybe I would talk about, like, rather than... Right, I'd maybe, like, list a couple of, like, the outer planes or something, and then say, other manifestos may exist, at your Dungeon Master's discretion. And then you could say, right, like Mount Celestia / I don't know, what are the other... I don't remember the other outer planes, but, like, you might say, like, that's Celestial, or Gehenna maybe is Fiend, or something like that. Yeah, right. This would be you need this item to do a quest. Yeah, well, I think it could be cool. I think I might, like, add in here a physical transformation as well, because right now this is just weird. It just kind of says, like, you're this creature type, but it doesn't specify, right, there's a physical transformation there. So that might be something to mention and specify in there, just so it's a little clearer. But I could see this definitely as being a very interesting item. And I also like, okay, dismissed as a free action. Interesting. I'd almost prefer if it couldn't be dismissed. That would be I don't know. I think that'd be more interesting to me, personally. I love the idea, right, of, like, players knowing, like, there's a fiendish cult in the city. Let's become devils, right, and infiltrate. And then they bust out the cult. And then, like, the guards show up, and it's like, oh shit, we're all devils. It just sounds interesting to me. Much more dramatic turn of events. But anyway, thank you for sharing, Frog. It's a very interesting item. Let's look at our next submission. So we have, oh my goodness, a heap of submissions from V-Bunny. V-Bunny, I don't know if you are here right now. If you are, let me know if there's a couple of these that you're, like, more interested in me looking at than others. Otherwise, I'm just gonna, I guess, briefly touch on them and see what we can do from there. So these are all on D&D Beyond. Our first one is Mass Shield of Faith. Yeah, it's quite a few. And it is just the Shield of Faith spell, but it's up to 6 creatures of your choice that you can see within range. Man. Oh. I think there's a reason Mass Shield of Faith doesn't exist in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Well, there are other mass versions of spells, like... Oh, my goodness. Music is much louder than it was a second ago. Changed a lot, too. Anyway. Yeah, I think there's a reason this doesn't exist. And it's very powerful. I mean, this would just become a huge spell tax, and more importantly, a concentration tax on every fucking cleric. Anyone that can learn the spell, pretty much. Which it looks like is Cleric, Paladin. Yeah, Cleric and Paladin. So, yeah, but I just don't think there's space in 5e for something like that. Of course, in your own home games, feel free. But this is definitely a very, very powerful option, if you would choose to use it. Your next spell here was, I've looked at this one earlier, Ventriloquism. And it seems like the purpose of it is to make a sound issue from a place you can see within range. And that you can speak any language you know with it, and some other kind of... it looks like your voice, specifically. Yeah, I mean, this feels just like Minor Illusion. Like, I think this cantrip already for all intents and purposes, exists. I don't know. What I might want to do if I were going to work on something like this guy is really narrow it in to just being your voice aspect, and then maybe you can get away with making it a little different, right? Maybe making it a bonus action, right? To cast, and it's instantaneous, right? So as a bonus action, you can speak from a location you can see within, I don't know, 100 feet. You could do a whole bunch of different things to kind of really differentiate this. But with a range of 60 feet, a duration of 1 minute, just a casting time of 1 action, it just feels a lot like Minor Illusion, in a way that maybe, maybe isn't a great thing. Just might be too much like it. Make it appear that a person is speaking. Yeah, but that's kind of like beyond the cantrip level is the problem. Yeah, and I think and Cold Spark was saying Minor Illusion is a shorter range but more versatile. Yeah, but the problem is it's got 60 feet instead of 30 feet, but can do a little bit less. Yeah, it just feels like it's way too similar. I would really want to take this in a much more unique kind of direction. But in your home games, this might be a perfectly reasonable, thing if that's something that you want to do. So, there's nothing broken about it. It's just for general use, it's just a little too close, I think. So those are a couple of spells. You looks like you have a magical item in here. I love how D&D Beyond's links, right, tell you it's a magical item. So I want to look at this, and I saw your comment in the chat. This should be a Silverbeard potion. This green bottle of hair-growing potion has been imbued with magical properties, and I think this is a D&D time reference. As an action on your turn, you may drink this potion. Okay. If you drink this potion, you magically grow a beard that instantly stiffens and turns silver gray. Okay, not a D&D time reference. Creatures who are normally unable to grow beards can can using this potion. While grown, the beard remains there as long as you're concentrating on it, as if concentrating on a spell. A creature with this beard gains +2 AC and has advantage on charisma checks against dwarves. The bottle refills each dawn. It's a weird item, my dude. It's a really funky item. Is that the idea that it grows you grow a shield beard? It's funky. I don't know. It's a funky item. It's Farfel. It's super weird. Yep, I'm with you. Maybe it's kind of D&D time, but it's almost I think the idea is it grows you grow a beard shaped like a shield, I think is what he was going for with it. Which I get, it's very goofy. It just maybe is a little too out of nowhere, I think. Shield beard! Yeah, Cold Spark, exactly. Looks like you have a bunch of other stuff here. I'm going to just pick Arrow Mind because that's got a really good name. And of course, if you want to look at these different spells and stuff that V-Bunny's put together, they're all in our workshop on the D&D Time Discord, which you can get to by going to our website, dndtime.stream, and clicking on the Discord button. And that brings you right here. So let's look at Arrow Mind. Yeah, Frosty, it's not consumable, which for Pete and Jerby's D&D time is fine. Yeah, consumable, it would be funny if the PC didn't know what it did. Yeah, I agree, Frosty. That would be that's how I would want to use it if I were using it in one of my home games. All right, so this is a first level spell, casting time for 1 action. And you'll need a flint arrowhead. That's a cool component. I actually really like that. While the spell is in effect and you are wielding a projectile weapon that fires arrows, such as a longbow, short bow, you threaten all squares within your normal melee reach, 5 feet if small, 10 feet if large, with your bow, allowing you to make opportunity attacks with arrow shots from the bow. In addition, you don't have disadvantage on attack rolls made with with ranged weapons within 5 feet of you. Interesting. And your intent was for this to be for the druid, the artificer, or the ranger. That's just it's just kind of weird for a spell. I'm not sure I understand mechanically what it does. I have no idea like in world how this works, how this does what it does. I get like what you're trying to achieve mechanically. I'm just not understand what this represents, like spatially. I guess spatially is not the right word. Like in the canon of the world. In the canon is not even the right word. Oh, there's a lot of music. All right. But I think this is a cool, like, it looks like almost a feat. So again, thank you everybody for sharing. Everybody's got a whole bunch of stuff here. But I wonder what Allegro is. Look at Allegro. 3rd level bonus action. Self in a 20-foot radius. So 20-foot radius centered on yourself, it looks like. Transmutation. Each creature in a 20-foot radius sphere centered on you gains the following benefits. Gains a 30-foot enhancement bonus to its land speed. Double the creature's land speed. Okay, that sounds like a spell from 3rd edition. Enhancement bonus. Yeah, I get the idea of this. It's kind of like a mass long strider kind of deal. 30 feet is very, very fast. You're pretty much on par with the haste spell at that point. This is all creatures. Yeah, it's a very niche spell. Bonus action. I might want to like, and you have this for the Bard, the Druid, and the Artificer. So not the Wizard. Interesting. I guess with the idea of Allegro, right? It makes sense that it could just be for the Bard. Druid seems a little funky here, but yeah, I like the concept of this. I think maybe you should maybe have like creatures that you can see within range, and maybe, goodness, 30-foot speed is really, really big, especially. Oh, you have it as concentration. Maybe this is fine, honestly. It's just pretty potent. But let's move along, I think. Move on to something else. At 3rd level, yeah, I mean, it's weird, right? Because you're sitting on, it's a 3rd level spell, which isn't nothing. Like, that's nothing to sniff at. You're comparing that to, like, Fireball. And, I mean, 30 feet is really fast. But, yeah, I just don't know. I think this might be like cooler. What's the Long Strider spell? Like Long Strider, it does have higher level castings, and it just targets additional creatures, and that's 10 feet and a full action, and it lasts for an hour. So this targets more creatures, is faster, it lasts for a minute, and is concentration. So I think, like, compared to a 3rd level Long Strider, yeah, the problem is this spell wrecks a DM's dream of a cool chase sequence. Yeah, no, I completely agree, Frosty. Or an escape sequence, right? For a, for example, like a collapsing temple or something like that. And that might be why something like this doesn't exist in 5e. But I get where you're coming from. The point of this, right, being a higher tax, more powerful version of Long Strider. Obviously, it's a higher spell slot. It lasts for less time. It has concentration. Speed is one of those things that you can't really oomph up too much without starting to break some things. But yeah, I don't know. I think this is very much depending upon the kind of game you're playing in. And I think it was a really smart choice to have it available for the Bard and the Druid, these kind of less jack-of-all-trades casters, right? If a Bard has this spell, that's like, it's their spell, right? This is like a thing that they do, that one of their signature things is casting this Allegro spell. And so maybe it's all right. But it definitely has some potential to be a problem. For kind of the reasons Frosty Pie was saying in chat, right? The cool chase sequence stuff. But it's neat. I'm very torn on it. And when when you're torn on something, right, it generally means there's something there. So, anyway, thank you. I know there are a couple more Aminoasis, Augment Familiar, Acid Sheath, Fire Seeds, a bunch more spells in there. And if you guys want to check out the bunch of spells, please do. But I think we're going to move on from there because we have other stuff to do today, other stuff on our docket. And that is going to start, we're going to start by talking about our Fantasy Labs rubric here. Let's see. When your speed, Frostfire says, well, when you speed yourself or one other up, there's a lot of choice the players need to make. Yeah, when everyone is fast and everyone has Shield of Faith, there's no choice. Yeah, exactly, Frost. I totally understand what you're saying there. You know, with mass Shield of Faith, or in that case, what's basically mass Expeditious Retreat, but without the bonus action requirement. Actually, that's what it kind of feels like. That is just Expeditious Retreat, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, okay, never mind. That spell is basically just mass Expeditious Retreat. It just doesn't require you to take the bonus action to dash. So, yeah, there's kind of a reason those spells don't really exist. And I think it's just to make it a more dynamic kind of game. Sort of add something to the workshop just now, because why not? I don't know. Let's find out. Why not? I guess I just closed the thing, but let me open it back up. Let's open our back up, boys. Well, last minute submit. Yeah, we usually don't do these, but you know, it's a no Pete night, so I'm taking it easy like Sunday morning. Jackson's bouncing ball. Let's see, Sword. Oh no, Sword. This is Mistress item now. Mistress stole it from you. No, with her gloves of the thief. Ah. All right. Let's look at this boy. All right. Yeah, but it's a very rare item. A magical little ball that bounces incessantly. When thrown towards a creature, they become distracted by its constant bouncing, making it difficult to attack or concentrate. As an action, this ball can be thrown up 60 feet at a creature and bounces where it lands until the player recalls it as a bonus action. Okay. When this ball is bouncing, any creature within 5 feet of it must make a con check at the beginning of their turn. On a failure, they have disadvantage on attacks and lose concentration on any spells. Huh. And of course, the classic patented Sword Co. here flavor text. Jackson was a cutting-edge toy maker, coming up with wondrous magical trinkets like the Buzzsaw Yo-Yo and the Bear Hug Teddy Bear, but his greatest invention was the Forever Bouncing Ball. Guaranteed to keep the family pet and kids preoccupied for hours, trying to catch this continuously bouncing wonder. Don't worry, kids, we didn't forget about you either. While it's patented, easy-to-use technology, you too can entertain your friends or annoy your parents. The possibilities are endless. Very, very cute. It's an interesting thing. You know, it's not an attunement item. Yeah, it's a very D&D time item. I mean, it's a low DC, but you can always do it. I don't think there's anything. Con check. Yeah, I think the idea is concentration, Frosty. Which is typically con. Oh, actually, concentration of saving throw, isn't it? So that might be a minor change to make, or if you want to keep it a con check, honestly, it's fine. Yeah, it's a funky little item. Thank you very much for your submission, Sword. All right. Now, I am no longer lying. Is check correct versus save? For concentration, I think it's a saving throw. I'm pretty sure it's a saving throw. There are almost no constitution checks in the game. That being said, it doesn't say concentration there. It does have the word concentration in it, but you could have it be a check too. There's really no issue one way or the other.